right, good morning on this very fine Tuesday. I am, yet again, Alfie Animus, here at the Associated Gas, care of Bear in Mind. This morning, we're going to continue our deep dive, our content nuke reaction on one Candace Owens. We'll see what the rest of this goes. Like I said, these videos have been going pretty well, and if they keep going this way, then I'll do. Nux has a couple more, as you can see right here. Candace Owens is 100% fucked, and Candace Owens is 100% going to jail. Career over. Hasn't quite happened yet, but you know, patience and virtue and all that. But without any further ado, let's get back into it.
Gave them power. The Frankists were behind the French Revolution. The Frankists were behind the Russian Revolution. Okay, it was the Frank.
Were they? Were they? I don't know. Let's ask the AI. Maybe the AI will tell us, unless the AI is secretly controlled by Jews also. All right. Were the Frankists behind the Russian Revolution? Maybe I'll be shocked. Maybe they were behind the Russian Revolution. Nope, there is no historical evidence to suggest that the Frankists, these fuckers in the 18th century, actually founded. All right. Well, anyway, turns out she was wrong.
No.
Anyway,
you have to understand that's controlled.
The Daily Wire fires her. She suddenly blames everything in history on Jews.
Everything's the Jews when it comes to Candace
bring
Owens.
down Christian empires.
Yes.
The Frankists who are bringing down America. Who are the people that are
Frankists are bringing down America? There are no Frankists. Okay, there are no Frankists. This is not. This is something that happened in the 18th century and is dead, long dead, 200 years dead. And she's blaming it on some Jew because some Jew, random Jew that she pulled out of her ass, she blames started all this stuff.
that are trying to work overtime to tell you that Leo Frank is not a pedophile and a murderer. Okay, the ADL was established by Frankists.
Really? How do you know? All right, the ADL. By the way, I don't like the ADL. All right, they're the Anti-Defamation League and stuff. They call everything anti-Semitic. And
Yeah,
I
they
really
really
hate when
do.
people do that. I feel like it actually, when there's real anti-Semitic shit, no one trusts it anymore because you got the ADL. All right,
But the only good thing good about them calling out literally everything, even stuff that's like so mild it's ridiculous, is that if they don't say anything, you can always be like, I mean, it can't be that bad. The ADL didn't say anything.
the ADL founded by Frankists. See, the issue is you can fact check literally anything she says. There is no historical evidence to suggest that the ADL was founded by Frank. Of course not. It's insane and it's stupid. You could fact check everything she says. It's all wrong.
Frank. Most people don't know. They think that the nation of Israel was established because of World War II. There's a lot going on leading up to that. Learn about the Damascus Affair of 1840.
Learn about the Damascus Affair.
No, thank you, practical
important.
communicators,
She doesn't actually
but
say
I
anything.
appreciate
She
the,
just, did you hear about the Damascus Affair in 1840? Yeah, it turns out that
appreciate the
Israel
comments.
is not what you think.
Learn about what happened to Esther Solomnisi in Austria in 1880 thereafter.
All right, I could prove to you how every single one of these claims are wrong. I urge you to feel free to research it yourself. Literally, you could research all of this yourself. I could too. I could plug everything that she says into any AI or...
And you can too. Look, don't take anything that I watch, don't take anything that I say at face value. Always question everything. I mean, I say that, but don't. I mean, if you want to be a conspiracy nut, even like you can go a step further. But like, the media is always not necessarily lying, but they're always just telling one side of the truth, the side that makes their side look good. So that's why if I hear Fox say something good about the Democrats, then I'm like, okay, that's probably true. If I hear the Democrats saying, or CNN or MSNBC saying good about Republicans or the right, I'm like, okay, that's probably closer to the truth. And like I said, Steven Crowder, most of his resources, they all come from the left. Like almost every single one of them. And again, if you don't do that, just go to, and I'm not sponsored, I just really like the site, Ground News. Ground News tells you any media bias, by paper, by author, by everything. And it tells you what their slant is, what their average story base is, so on and so forth.
Literally look it up or read any books, okay? And none of that shit is real. How many Frankists exist? There are no Frankists. This is a real thing.
No, there are no Frankists.
Oh my God, you don't understand. She is inventing a pedophile cult. and blaming it on the Jews. Are there practicing Frankists today? All right. Again, you can do whatever. Like, it's insane. There are no evidence of any organized groups practicing Frankism today like they did in the 18th and 1900s. Yeah, of course not. Of course not.
Okay, there were Christians that kept going missing on holidays. It all goes back to Ukraine, and I have a lot of thoughts.
She is literally saying blood libels right now. This is something that a lot of Christians used to do to persecute Jews back like hundreds of years ago, where they would say that Jews murdered Christian babies to put their blood in their food. All right, it's literally something fake and debunked a million times. It's called blood libels, and you could look it up. And she is literally parroting the talking points of old debunked statements that led to the mass murder of thousands of Jews over multiple countries. You cannot even make this shit up. Like, again, I want to go through this and debunk these claims one by one, but it's every single video is just littered with fake claims that sound real because she's just listing shit that sound like they're facts, but they're all fake, and every single one of them is to blame everything that's going on in the world on the Jews.
And that's the one thing I've noticed about Candace Owens. She can spout the most insane nonsense and make it sound like, well, could it be true? I don't know. She's like, she's like Glenn Beck, but absolutely a liar. Like Glenn Beck, sometimes you hear him and he might be just asking questions or whatever. Not so much with Candace Owens. I don't really care much for Glenn Beck either. He's probably, I don't know. I think Candace Owens just barely outshines Glenn Beck when it comes to insane rhetoric and just blatant lies.
Thoughts about that, about the fact that this religion, this faith, Frankism, first was born in Thessalonica, and then obviously the second coming, who was Jacob Frank, carried on in Ukraine. And you just see that just this impression today on Ukraine. I have a lot of questions about that.
She's blaming Ukraine on the Frankist Jews.
Nothing good has ever come from Ukraine, okay? This religion, this cult, this satanic cult needs to be exposed. And yes, I'm aware.
She's talking about the Jews, all right? She's calling them Frankists because she doesn't want to say the Jews. She literally picked a random Jew and blamed all of history on him. She literally did. And she keeps doing it. You could keep going. Again, I'm going to keep going. See,
And the reason that she sounds so convincing is because she had studied all these things. All these things and all these thoughts do exist and have existed. But like I said before, and I don't know what this next clip he's about to play with Fuentes here, but even Nick Fuentes is calling her crazy these days because she's blaming the murder of Charlie Kirk on the Jews. What?
The crazy thing is, all right, here you got Nick Fuentes. This guy hates Jews. He actually straight up on his stream says, guys, could we all go kill Jews? He says that on his stream. He wants a holy war against the Jews, okay?
And she's calling them the Bolshevists, and she says that, she gets all the details wrong about that.
Even he hates Candace Owens because she's not being a proper neo-Nazi like he is. He hates that Candace Owens is bad at hating Jews. That's how lame Candace Owens is.
And then she says Stalin was Jewish. Stalin was not Jewish.
The neo-Nazi is calling her out, okay?
And then she says Ataturk was secretly Jewish. Ataturk was not secretly Jewish.
Yeah, what the hell?
But I didn't say anything.
Like, the thing is, he hates Jews so much. He's okay with all of this. She is an embarrassment to neo-Nazis, okay?
Whatever. I said...
And that's the insane part. Like I said, and even as far back as this, like I said, this video is, 6 months old? Yeah, this video is 6 months old. And they've had communication. I've seen clips of Fuentes and Candace Owens having conversations, having an interview, and then also having massive freaking crash outs afterwards. But that's the crazy part on this. Like he said, Candace Owens is so bad at being anti-Semitic that even Nick Fuentes is calling her out. What? I'll never understand Candace Owens. I don't know why she blames everything on the Jews. I don't know. And she wasn't always like this, but it's definitely more than likely how she got fired from the Daily Wire.
Oh, well, not everyone's perfect. I said, it's not really a good look, but, she's learning. I said she's going to get on the ball eventually, so I didn't say anything.
Right. He's talking about getting onto the hating Jews train.
Yeah.
I held my tongue, even though that was not really a good
Although
look.
I don't know if I would have
Okay?
said
you
getting
can't
on the
really
train
go
when it
hard
comes
like
to-
that and stake
Anyway.
the reputation of you and everybody on this, and then like get it wrong really severely over and over. She's talking about all this stuff that like it just doesn't even really make any sense. But then lately she's been saying this Frankist thing, and I'm gonna put something out. I'm not sure exactly when, but I think it's gonna be a big collaboration.
Oh, God.
We're gonna talk about this Frankist lie. And the difference between me and her, one, I'm a really good researcher. Two, I really know what the fuck I'm talking about because I've been doing this a long time. It's one of the things you learn.
This guy
He
is
really
a
has.
neo-Nazi.
Yeah,
okay?
he is.
He is an actual neo-Nazi that hates Jews, that openly says he wants to kill Jews, and he wants a holy war against Jews, and let them die in the holy war. He actively gives these speeches. He is an actual neo-Nazi, but he is upset that Candace Owens is so bad at hating Jews. Anyway, Candace Owens,
You're
she
making
keeps-
us
she
look
keeps cooking.
bad.
She
You're making
keeps
us look
cooking.
like animals.
She complains about to the Daily Wire, of course.
Monday. And so the big reminder, number 4, that I want you to walk away with is that we're not allowed to have any entertainment anymore here in America unless it comes with propaganda to remind you to get to work, right?
Now I don't even completely disagree. I think that there's way too
Michael
much propaganda in
Rappaport's
media.
also unhinged.
But wait, it gets better.
To get to work because we have a vision of how your tax dollars should be spent overseas. And so it's quite remarkable that Israel, the government that takes billions of dollars from us every year, decided to take not 2, but 3 commercials. Now, the government themselves sponsored 2 commercials at the Super Bowl. Super Bowl commercials, just so you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
$7 million per an ad, okay? So that means that the Israeli government spent $14 million for a primetime spot. Their commercials were
She's
basically
upset that Israel bought commercials at the Super Bowl.
them saying that there are hostages, and
There are hostages. She's actually right. They're right. There are hostages literally kidnapped by terrorists, including Americans, by the way. There is still an American hostage held by Hamas terrorists.
they intend to get the hostages and bring the dads home.
Well, on that one, I'm a little indifferent. Look, I'm not. I got no positive or negative feelings towards Israel. I do think that. Look, one side has the means to completely turn the other side into a Sodom and Gomorrah situation, like turn everyone to salt. But they don't. And if the other side had the same capabilities, they absolutely would have done that and more. I truly believe this part. I have no love for Netanyahu. I think he is kind of unhinged. He's been at this for a very long time, and having that kind of not only responsibility to his country and his people, but just being a constant war for his entire reign has probably had an effect on him to the point where he's kind of turning into, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. It might be that kind of situation, but I really don't know enough because it's just a lot. It's a long, long history. But at the same time, when it comes to what Candace is saying here, I actually do somewhat agree with that. I don't care so much that Israel is quote unquote using money that they've gotten from the American government to pay for spots at the Super Bowl. I do care about. I want regular advertising. The only reason, look, the reason Super Bowl numbers used to always be so high compared to the regular season is because people want to see the fun commercials. They're usually the funniest commercials you'll see all year. That used to be the case. They don't do that anymore. Now they're politicizing shit. And I don't like the politicization of certain parts of the entertainment business. Keep it out of sports. Keep it the whole thing where they wear pink helmets and all that. I understand getting awareness out there, but people are already aware of all this stuff. There's lots of funding. Let's do something about it. Just stop making people, hey, are you aware of this? Are you aware of this? Hey, wear pink, wear pink, wear pink, wear pink. Okay, we're doing all this. It's fine. It's great. You got the support of the community. What are we doing? But the same thing with anything else. I don't think any politics needs to be, at least not heavy-handed politics. If you want to have like the 90s and the early 2000s used to be, and just have where the kind of thing where like you're learning without knowing you're learning because you're being entertained, like the whole edutainment system that we had back then. Even just regular entertainment stuff, like the X-Men shows or whatever. But this doesn't belong here. I'm sorry. I might be wrong, and I hate agreeing with Candace Owens on anything, but she does make a few good points here and there, even though how she got to those points is fucking horrible.
Are being held by Hamas. Now, of course, why would this premiere during a Super Bowl? There's nothing that we, as the American people, can do about that hostage effort over there.
Kanye West bought an ad at the Super Bowl literally to promote Nazi merch this year. Okay?
Did he?
That happened this year.
I haven't watched
But
in like 3
she's
years.
pro Kanye West's Hitler arc, as I'm about
At
to show
least.
you. She's upset that Israel bought an ad, which anyone could buy, but she doesn't care that Kanye West bought an ad to sell swastika hoodies.
What it's supposed to do.
I mean,
is
I
it's
care
supposed to
about that. I don't
collect your
want
heartstrings
Kanye West
and
selling
make you not ask
swastika
any
hoodies
questions about what they're doing
in
overseas.
the Super Bowl.
And actually, last night, in case you're wondering, while the Super Bowl was on,
Right.
Netanyahu
Let
bombed
me look
a
that up,
refugee
actually,
camp.
because that's
And,
crazy.
you know, rescue 2 hostages, but she doesn't mention that.
But don't ask any questions about that. You need to get to work and feel bad and have your heartstrings pulled to justify every war that's happening overseas, that you're largely probably ignorant of what's happening overseas. And another NGO ran a third ad
Holy
that was pro-Israel. And this time they just told you that you need to tell your reps to send more money. Take a listen.
LifeShifter.com lets you automatically contact your local reps and demand the release of all the hostages now. It's a real f***ing app. Not only will it change lives, it will save life. So use the app. Don't use the app. I don't give a f***. Let's bring them home now. LifeShifter.com.
Looking around, still pretty sure I live.
Michael Rappaport, not the best person to get your point across. The man is a lunatic. That being said, loved him in some movies back in the day. Loved him on Chappelle's Show, the Pop Copy sketch. But for the love of God.
I live in America, so I am not really sure this reads to me
They paid for an ad. Why is she so mad that someone paid for the ad and the ad got played?
like Zelensky at the Grammys, Zelensky on Vanity Fair, Zelensky asking to be invited to the Oscars so he could make a speech. It is telling us that, again, we need to care about something overseas.
See, that kind of thing I don't care about because the Oscars are already people sniffing their own farts. Like, so if Zelensky wants to talk at the Oscars, I don't care because it's all clout chasing anyways. So let the man talk. It has nothing to do with anybody. The Oscars are already unbearable. So why not? Don't care. Candace Owens is just complaining because she thinks that the Jews have something to do with Ukraine.
Why would we call our rep to do something that has nothing to do with America?
So don't call your rep.
I'm going to call my rep. I'm going to demand that they...
She's just furious. Furious. That, you know, poor Jews are suffering.
Close up our borders and do something about that issue. But again, every single time you are going to have any entertainment in America now, you are going to start to see this sort of effort to remind you to feel bad and do something. And that's something that you can do, by the way, is get to work. Because it's Monday and somebody's...
Nice. Great take. Anyway, Candace Owens, if you look up her Kanye West arc, she has a Kanye West arc. Now,
And real quick, I do agree that it is ridiculous that in every media, in every medium these days, in every entertainment medium, we're expected to, like, we're just bombarded with all these causes that we have to care about. I understand that can be frustrating. That being said, the reason that Candace Owens is frustrated is because she feels like the Jews are in control of all of it. Whereas I would just very much like to watch. I mean, I don't really watch sports, but I know people that do, and they don't care. Most of them. Everyone I know who watches sports don't give a shit. And I want it out of my movies. If I want a movie that's about a thing, I'll watch a movie about a thing. And Hollywood writers these days aren't smart enough to have any subtext or any, that it's not in there or they beat you over the head with it. And they can't just, like, use metaphor or anything anymore. What are we even doing?
Kanye West went on a bunch of crazy Twitter rants where he supports Hitler and stuff like that, which is pretty bad for most people that are normal. And she has like her off.
Kanye's
West.
always been crazy. Why is this even a surprise? And that's the second I knew that she was crazy. At first I was like, okay, maybe she's got some. Nope. She's crazy.
How they tried to silence him. Who's they? it's the Jews. Spoilers, it's the Jews. The Jews silenced Kanye. All right, so poor Kanye silenced by the Jews. The Jews. Now, Kanye praises Hitler. Okay, Kanye praises Hitler a lot. Like a lot. You'd think she would at least denounce praising Hitler, right?
I think it should be abundantly obvious, based on the way that I cover news topics and the way that Ben covers news topics and our varying opinions, not just me and Ben, me and Matt and Michael Knowles, that nobody is controlling the other person. I mean, what examples do you need? Ben was very pro-vax. His wife is a doctor. He likes vaccines. He's vaxxed his children. He got the COVID vaccine. I was staunchly and remain staunchly against not just the COVID vaccine, all vaccines. I am a proud non-vaxxer. I did not vax my children. I believe that the big pharma collusion has been happening for a very long time. I respect Ben's right to get vaccines and to vax his children, but I disagree with that. Ben was a supporter, is a supporter, I guess, of President Zelensky and what's happening in Ukraine. He believes Ukraine has a right to defend itself against Russia. I believe that it's all part of a money laundering operation and that President Zelensky is no better than Putin. I believe that what is happening over there is us moving from Afghanistan, the money that we were spending every single day, and it's a part of the military-industrial complex. And so I do not...
She's pregnant, by the way. I, for one, pray that her kid does not get measles, being that she's against every vaccine. And I really mean that. I'm not, like, saying that facetiously or sarcastically. I really, really am scared for her child. This is wild. Anyway.
Support anything in Ukraine. We don't agree on many topics, and if we did, and he was controlling me, he'd be doing a very bad job of controlling me based on what we talk about. And I think that it was really crappy for somebody who is a friend of mine. I say that on a platform, but I also think it's really crappy for everybody to keep thinking that I have to answer and agree with every single thing that Ye says. I am not his...
He said he praised Hitler. Like, you could denounce Hitler, right? You could denounce it. She's going on a rant. This whole rant is her basically saying that people shouldn't be allowed to control me. I will not denounce Hitler. This is what she's saying.
Spokesperson. I am not Kim de Balenciaga. All right? I am not working on that campaign. Please stop tagging me in every single thing that he says and saying that my silence is violence. I, of course, do not agree with every single thing that Ye says. I don't know.
Like, what about specifically the Hitler anti-Jew stuff specifically?
With every single thing that I say, when I look back 4 years, I go, you know what? I have a different perspective on this. And
what about 10 years ago when you put out social autopsy?
I would like to be able to amend my former perspectives.
Nice. Anyway, she doesn't denounce the Hitler shit, which is kind of weird, to be honest. Now, it keeps going. Kanye, of course, blames his mental health issues on the Jews. And she's just like, yeah.
The question that I wanted to ask you for fun, do you believe that you have bipolar? Who told you you were bipolar? And when were you told that, in 2015?
Exactly. I was told that by a Jewish doctor.
Good that you mentioned that. He is bipolar. I think everyone knows he's bipolar.
Yes.
And the information was put out by a Jewish Hollywood trainer to the Jewish media. And it actually, they put me in the hospital.
The only person that cares about him actually put him in the hospital because he's a retard.
I had started reading the Bible
really quick. I want to say this. Homeland Security just put out this ad, and it's very inappropriate. They should not have done this. This is not the kind of thing the government agencies should put out, and I'll 100% stand by that. And Legal Mindset, I just read what he put out. Hey Nintendo, are you litigious bastards going to try to come at the DHS government for using Pokemon like you did Pal World? Please try. Not only would I love to cover it, but I assure you that you cannot outspend the U.S. government. They print more money than Mario. That's true, which is why everything is increasing in price as it is. But let's watch this really quick. It's only a minute long, and it's hilarious. It's horrible, but it's hilarious.
I want to be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test. To train them is my cause.
All right, I have to pause it here just because of copyright issues, but let's see what happens. This is so fucked up.
Searching far and wide. Each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all. It's you and me.
And I realize some of you aren't watching. So what's happening here is they're showing clips of detaining illegal immigrants to the Pokemon theme song. You can't make this shit up. What timeline is this? And yes, while I do find it's very funny. I'm sorry, it just is. It's hilarious, but it's so fucked up. Like, you should be able to do a thing. And while I don't entirely disagree with the concept of what they're doing, because the concept of how they got here, look, and let's be honest. The whole purpose of having illegals in the country is it's basically just a way to get very cheap, almost slave-like wages. Because and even when people were when President Trump started talking about getting deporting these people, and a lot of them, I sympathize with a lot of this, and I don't think that we should do it the way the Democrats did it, and I don't think that we should do it the way Republicans are doing it. Getting rid of MS-13 and all the gang members, 100% sure, fine. Getting people who were hanging out with them out in the open, okay, sure, fine. They're probably a part of it at some point, or they were going to be recruited at some point. But Democrats letting them all in, and this is another case of no side will ever give a proper solution to these problems because there's no money in it, because there's no political points to be gained from it. Nobody will ever put forth any policy to make naturalization any easier because they can't campaign on that once it's done. The same reason that, and I heard Trump mentioning something about this, I hope it pans out unlike last term, and Biden didn't do anything on this either, taking weed from a Schedule I drug to anything else. That would be huge. Right now, it's still on the list up there with heroin, which is absolutely ridiculous. If you know anything about anything when it comes to narcotics, weed and heroin are not anywhere in the same, nothing. They're not even on the same universe. Well, they're in the same universe, just not the same planet. Other than literally, of course, but. But this whole thing is fucked up. But this is an actual, look. This is an actual Homeland of Security put this out. Sorry, Homeland of Security. Homeland Security put this out. What?
I know it's my destiny. Pokemon, oh, you're my best friend. In a world we must defend. Pokemon.
What the fuck even is this, man? But yeah, that's what it is, and they keep cutting back to Ash Ketchum putting his hat on backwards and throwing a Pokeball, and then them capturing illegal aliens. Look, again, like I said, dehumanize the gang members or whatever, but I'm pretty sure not all these people are gang members. Why are you just haven't some of these people had hard enough lives? Again, I don't care about the gang members, the cartel members, whatever. But all the rest of them, the people who were exploited and gave away everything to get here. Come on, man.
Our hearts so true. Our courage will pull us through. You teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon. Gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon.
No, you did not put them on Pokemon cards at the end. Jesus. I would like to meet the person who came up with this idea. Because how nerdy is that? Look, I get it's a big, brutish law enforcement agency. But for love of fuck, guys, come on. What are we doing? Anyway, continuing.
Heavy and rewriting Bible verses. And when the Jewish trainer saw, and you're looking well, that sounds pretty bipolar. But the Jewish trainer saw that, put me in the hospital, and then said, and then put it in the press. And
The press being TMZ broke it. Right?
yeah, I don't remember. I was in the hospital, right?
Crazy.
And
Why were you in the hospital?
Because he's fucking retarded.
exhaustion.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's what I meant.
you don't sleep much. I mean, we don't.
You ready for his response? She says, oh, it's because you don't sleep much. He's insanely bipolar. He has wild highs and wild lows. Anyone on the planet knows he's bipolar. But are you ready, guys? Are you ready for what she tries to literally say that the Jewish doctor was bad? All right, how dare he put him in the hospital because he was just tired? You know what Kanye's response is?
You don't sleep much.
I actually do sleep a lot. It's my favorite.
Nope, never mind. I actually do sleep a lot. No poison exhaustion at all.
It's my
Well, she
favorite
just got
thing.
destroyed. She literally tried to come up with a reason live about how the Jewish doctor was manipulating him when he was just tired. And it turns out, nope. He sleeps plenty. Good try there, Candace. Very cool. Love that. Now, this is Kanye's tweets. You know, I'm a Nazi. I love Hitler. Now what? I'm racist, you know, etc., etc. This is the person that is literally being defended by Candace Owens because, well, Candace...
Okay, real quick, two things. One, so President Trump made an announcement that there's a link, an autism link that came from, I guess they've done research or there's been research going on. It had to have started before this presidency for them to make this confirmation. But apparently pregnant mothers taking Tylenol has a link to autism. I don't know. I haven't got to research this yet. That's why I haven't mentioned it since he said it. I didn't say it in yesterday's show either. But there are people filming themselves just shoving Tylenol down their throats. What are we doing, guys? Look, I'm all for. Look, I understand and respect people who want to protest the president. Does it have to be literally everything that the man says or does? I don't know, whatever. But guzzling Tylenol. Oh, hold on. Let's see. Hopefully they're not swallowing because, hey, Tylenol, what organ will it shut down if I take too many? The liver. So yeah, if you want to shoot your liver, God forbid if you're using alcohol to wash them all down. But this is nuts. I don't even know what's happening. Speaking of which, airlines are putting out these god awful things. Would you pay 50% less for a ticket where you're not even? It's literally a bicycle seat. You're literally pretty much standing. You know all the complaints that fat people are having with flying on airlines right now? That's what you're going to have with anyone taller than 5'10" in these god-awful things. This guy may look happy. He's not happy. He's not happy. And you're going to have people farting on your knees. And some people spray fart. But this is horrible. And you see what people wear these days. They're going to have to clean these seats all the time. They're going to have to be made of like Teflon. But come on, let's get rid of that. Anyway, back to it. I apologize.
Someone hates Jews.
I have ADHD.
Why did she
Fuck
hates
off.
Nazis? And I guess. So, again, you get more Kanye. He'll constantly double down on his Holocaust denial shit, literally.
This was an event. And I think...
You know, he dresses up like this. He denies the Holocaust. He talks about how Hitler was great.
It looks like a hood
Candace
gimp.
Owens defends him. You don't need to see... This isn't a Kanye video. I'm not going down the Kanye rabbit hole. I'm just trying to get real here. This is one of the videos that actually made me want to start covering this properly. This is a 10-minute video. We're not going to be watching the entire thing, of course. I'll just give you the Clips Notes. This is an entire video where Candace Owens blames 9/11 on the Jews. It's retarded, as you might expect, because, you know, the terrorists that did 9/11 actually took credit for doing 9/11 and then were killed for doing 9/11. She still blames the Jews, even though thousands of Jews were killed on 9/11. But she doesn't care.
How anyone could blame 9/11 on the Jews, I don't know, but she manages.
I'm not trying to give false information. You know, we'll ask Grok. We'll ask the AI. I feel like I need to do this every time. All right. How many Jews were killed on 9/11? All right. Just want to make it clear because it's pretty awful. It's not definitively known. Between 270 and 400 Jews died. That is a lot of Jews. Let's come together and recognize that is a lot of people, and that is an unbelievable tragedy that was done by Islamist terrorists. Like, let's be real. But anywho,
Look at what they did to Julian Assange. I'll tell you guys in the 9/11 comments section from last week, you guys were dropping all sorts of tidbits.
Her audience of Jew haters were literally giving her all the info she needed.
At the edge of my seat, and I began researching things I had never even heard of.
I love how she says researching when she can't research the fact that dinosaurs existed or that the Earth is round. But she's
Sorry. I know I cut him off mid-sentence. No one cares about Jimmy Kimmel's show. Harry Sisson is a lunatic. Let's face it, he's a retard. He doesn't understand anything. Says magazine shambles over Jimmy Kimmel getting reinstated. The boycotts worked and they hate it. They really didn't. If you look at, let me see if I can pull up the Disney stock. Okay. Look. So we're going to go back 5 days. Looks like a lot, but when you look back, wait. This isn't the one that I looked at yesterday. But yeah, anyway. So this is the last 6 months. This is what happened when the Kimmel thing happened. Ooh. This is back when their last movie bombed. What? And then I'm sure some show or some anime or the fact that they're making you have Hulu and Disney kicked it back up to here. This is the little drop from Kimmel. Let's go back a year. Like, look at all this. This is where it dropped to. This is where it's been, like, down to. 40%. Sorry, not 40%. Like, what's that? Yeah, somewhere around, not quite 50%. We'll say 40%. 40% drop, as opposed to a 5-point drop. No one cares about your boycott. They only cared because 400 celebrities bitched and wailed, and someone shot up an ABC studio in California. That's it. You did it through crybaby celebrities and terrorism. Congratulations. You're Al Qaeda.
She's researching 9/11 and seeing how she could blame Jews.
And I am now completely shaken. So yeah, I showed you guys that video of the Israelis who were celebrating.
But we know who Candace Owens would blame.
It turned out that they had connections to the Israeli intelligence apparatus.
No evidence of that. There were just random Jews that were dancing, and someone took a video of it and said that, oh my God, they're the dancing Israelis. They did the Holocaust. They did 9/11. It's all the Jews. There is no evidence of that they were actually at all connected to 9/11.
And the FBI pretty much just let him go or whatever.
Because there was no evidence connecting them to 9/11. They let them go? Wow!
For a reason.
They let people who didn't do it
we
go?
looked into it, no further follow-up.
Because it was random Jewish guys dancing on the street.
And that sort of got memory hold. Memory hold is an expression where they basically never talk about it again, and then we all just forget that it ever happened, and we move on.
Right.
Well, one of you guys commented and said that I should look into the Israelis that were working at the World Trade Center who were forewarned of the attack.
Wait, there were Israelis working in the World Trade Center that were forewarned of the attack? If this is true, that would be crazy.
And
spoilers, it's not true, but let's see what she has to say.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes!
That is another thing that I researched that has been completely memory hold, but it is true.
It's not true.
It's
just not true.
So I'm going to show you guys, by the way, because before they say I'm a conspiracy theorist, I had to make sure that
I like conspiracy theorists. I'm a conspiracy theorist. She just blames Jews and then figures out the steps in between.
Oh.
She's like, all right, tragedy happened. How do we blame it on the Jews? Let's figure it out. That's not conspiracy theorists.
I had all of the relevant documents, all the relevant links, and I am going to include those links for you guys.
Are you
so just
though?
check out the episode. You can look at the links yourself.
We will.
Here is
I did.
the very true story of what went down on 9/11.
The very true story, guys. All
This is
fact,
what
nothing
went
fake.
down.
There was an instant messaging service that was called Odago. maybe I'm saying it wrong, Odigo, O-D-I-G-O.
All right.
It was Israeli-owned and
So far, she's telling the truth.
operated.
Yeah,
and they
that part
had
is true.
headquarters
Yes.
that were based 2 blocks away from the World Trade Center.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
Now, this is according to Haaretz. I'm sure I'm not saying that right.
Haaretz, a far left Israeli media thing.
You know, it's a very popular Israeli publication.
It's super far left. It's like it's more far left than like CNN, in case you're curious. It is the most
That's
far
pretty
left
far left.
Israeli news site in the world.
Check out this headline from them, published September 26th, 2011. So that is 15 days after the attack. It says, Odigo workers were warned of the attack. That's the
crazy.
headline. And I'm going to read.
And this must have saved all the Jews that escaped the buildings before the planes crashed.
You this piece of the article verbatim. It says, quote, Odigo, the instant messaging service, says that 2 of its workers received messages 2 hours before Twin Towers attack on
crazy.
September 11th, predicting that the attack would happen.
Oh my God, this is huge.
And the company has been cooperating with Israeli and American law enforcement, including
Now she says Israeli.
the FBI, in trying to find the original sender of the message, predicting the attack. And
All right, so because
You know, it'd be
you're
funny.
not gonna believe her because that's
it'd be funny if it was Bin Laden himself, just to try to take. But then they took credit for it, so no. None of it makes sense. I was about to make a rationale, but even that doesn't make any sense because they took credit themselves.
crazy. Let's look at the reality. So Odigo reported that 2 hours before the Twin Tower attack, 2 of their employees who were working in an Odigo office in Herzliya near Tel Aviv in Israel. All right, let's be clear here. These were not workers that escaped the Twin Towers before the planes crashed. These were literally people in Israel. They received a hostile English electronic instant message non-specifically threatening them that a terrorist attack would happen. The generic terrorist attack will happen. All right, that is all they got. A terrorist attack will happen. Didn't say where, didn't say when, didn't say it would be literally across the world, but it turns out it happened there. And literally, the FBI investigated it and came to the conclusion that, yeah, there is actually no Odigo.
And this just goes to show you, look, there's 2 kinds of people. There are the kinds of people who will think that this is a cover-up because you can change Wikipedia on everything. They'll think that what Candace Owens says is the original truth and that this is a cover-up. And then there's the kind of people, and I fall in both these camps from time to time. It depends on what it is and how much research I've done, and the likelihood of a situation. But people who will see this and, like a game of telephone, they'll come up with a conspiracy theory. It'll start off that 2 people in Israel got a message that said that there was going to be a terror attack, and then it turns into the service. Someone will find out that Odigo had an office not that far from the Twin Towers, and these 2 people magically fly a plane, no pun intended, to New York, and then evacuate 2 hours before 9/11 happens. Like, come on.
9/11 connection. They tried. The notes ended with an anti-Semitic slur. They were literally anti-Jew
As they do.
notes. Now, the crazy thing is terrorists actually make threats against Jews in Israel all the time. The fact that this is like insane news is wild because people in Israel literally get messages and mail and shit about terrorists saying we're gonna kill you guys all the time. This is pretty common news. Now, the thing is, she uses this to say that there are a lot of Jews that didn't show up to work the morning of the Twin Towers tragedy. Now, again, that is true, actually. That 9/11, they were warned. I'll actually tell you the truth. The truth is what you are about to see. September 19th in 2001 was the holiday of Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year's. Now, there is a custom that Jews say it is a prayer before Rosh Hashanah that is said for about a week and a half before Rosh Hashanah. Slichot started in 2001 on September 8th. September 9th, for those that are keeping track, is when the plane hit the Twin Towers. A lot of Jews didn't show up to work on time on 9/11 because they were praying these Slichot, all right, which, by the way, is like an hour-and-a-half long prayer that happens a week before New Year to, like, atone for sins and stuff. Now, it's very...
Okay, real quick. And this is why Yeah, just like Chris Reagan says. Look, always find the context and everything. Don't just be offended. Like, some stuff is just gross, but at least they're do it across the board. They're unbiased in their hatred. Performers at Riot Fest in Chicago, Illinois simulated the bloody disemboweling of President Trump on stage while people cheered. This is incitement. They know exactly what they're doing. This is by Libs of TikTok. Chris Reagan, they did this with Biden as well, by the way. Yes, they did. You can call it whatever you want. Just make sure that you know that they've done this with literally every president since Ronald Reagan and other celebrities. This is their shtick. Whether or not you think it's good or bad, we can have a discussion on that. But to say that they've only ever done this with Trump is disingenuous. I even knew about this. Well, I didn't know that they've done it since every president since Reagan, but I know they've done it with at least the last 3 or 4. I don't remember if they did it with Obama. I know they did it with Bush, and I can see them doing it with Clinton. Like, oh boy. But if they just did this to Trump and Obama, then they have no shame. They don't care. They're unbiased. Okay. Because if they did it with Obama, then that could be considered like influencing a hate crime or some such. And if they don't care to do it then why should we care that they're doing it now? Again, you can make the argument for long term, but it's disingenuous.
Convenient that when Slichot was invented 3,000 years ago, they planned the Twin Towers. Crazy that 9/11 was literally planned 3,000 years ago when they came up with Slichot. Now, again, I don't mean to be busting conspiracy theories wherever I go, but she
no, thank you, but thanks for the engagement.
Made anonymously, sent to Jews in Israel. She is blaming Jews for knowing that the Twin Tower attack was going to happen, making sure that their people would evacuate the Twin Towers, and that's why some Jews were saved, even though still 270 to 400 Jews died on 9/11. Like, every single one of her lies is based on facts upon facts of misinformation. Like, literally. She didn't know about Slichot. She didn't know about Rosh Hashanah. She didn't know that Jews actually did die. She didn't know that the messages that were sent to the Messenger app were sent in Israel. She thought that they were sent in America. Lies upon misinformation upon more lies, just to blame Jews for the biggest terrorist attack on American soil in history. Now, this is another clip. Again, not going to get too deep into this one, to show you how retarded she is. To show you how actually insane she is. All right? Look at this. Look at what she says here. It is mind-bogglingly stupid.
So when I'm walking through Jerusalem,
right, this is her talking about how Jews are bad, Israel bad, Jews bad.
And you see, and they say these are the Muslim quarters. This is where the Muslims are allowed to live. That doesn't feel like a bastion of freedom to me.
Wow, it's not a bastion of freedom that there's the Muslim quarter.
So I guess.
Oh, I don't think it's where they're allowed to live in Jerusalem. I think it's that there's an Armenian quarter. It's not saying the Armenians can only live here. It's that there are communities, just like there's a Jewish community in Jersey here, and there's a Muslim community in here. I don't think, to my understanding.
He's just completely correct here, by the way.
It's not restrictions within Israel proper of where Israeli.
I think it is where they
have to live. She says, literally parroting fake news.
I mean, at least that's what the rabbi who was taking me around. He said,
"That's not what the rabbi told you. You're a fucking liar."
These are the Muslim quarters. So this is where the Muslims.
It's not the Muslim quarters. She says quarters, like they have to live in these specific quarters.
Live, but he didn't say anything about legally saying they cannot live in other places within Israel proper. I mean,
yeah. So she's a retard here. She's just making like the ultimate anti-Semitic talking point that Muslims are being forced to live like in specific quarters. It's like saying Chinatown. Chinatown. I can't believe America literally forces Chinese to live in Chinatown. You're ready to lose your absolute mind. You're about to see something that'll change how you see the world. The world is going to open up. All right. So here is a picture of the old city in Jerusalem. All right, this is the old city in Jerusalem, guys.
Picture, it's
now,
an illustration.
It's a pretty bad map, but over here, this quarter of the old city is where the Jews live. All right, this quarter of the old city is where the Muslims live. All right, this is where the Christians live, and this is where the Armenians live. All right, now in the center is the holiest place for all of these different countries, all these different nations, and all these different religions. This is where, the Temple Mount is, right? This is where the Western Wall is, and the giant mosque. whatever, that all the different, it's a pretty holy spot. So in order that everyone basically has places to go and has reach to the center, you got Christians that kind of congregated here. You got Armenians that, there are no walls, by the way. These are not walls. This is a fucking map. Okay, well, there is a wall around it because it's an ancient walled city. But these are not These are not walls. It just happens to be that this is a Jewish community, this is a Muslim community, this is a Christian community, this is an Armenian community in the old city in Jerusalem, okay? No forced living. And she's out here talking about how the Jews are forcing the poor Muslims to live only in specific areas and they torture them and shit like that. That's what she's saying. It's like, it's unbelievable. Like, oh God, there's a map. Look at this. Look, guys, it's a map. The Jewish quarter, the Muslim quarter, the Christian quarter, the Armenian quarter, and here's the Temple Mount. Wow, that's crazy. It turns out Candace didn't realize that the Jews were only allowed to live at the Muslim quarters bigger than the Jewish. Again, actual retarded shit. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't. Now, this video is very funny, personally. I love this video. This is great.
Do you think it's normal, by the way, that basically every person who speaks about Israel has to basically say a statement that's like, you know, I don't want to get killed?
What are you talking about? No one gets killed for this. What is even happening?
Like literally, you start speaking about it, people are like, Candace, beef up your security.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that hate Jews and like promoting this whole Jews murder all the opposition. You do realize that the biggest leftist streamer on Twitch streams terrorist propaganda talking about killing Jews all the time? And he's not only not banned on Twitch, but they promote him? Like, what are you talking about?
Excuse my language, but like, that is not normal.
Right.
Okay? It's not normal that people have to think about their security because, and so normal that then the way that you get comfortable with it is you're like, well, you know, they shot JFK in an open car, so.
No evidence? Well, you know, the Jews killed JFK, so they can come for me too.
Oh, there's not, I mean, he's a sitting president. I mean, obviously my security doesn't really matter. If they want me, they're gonna get
crazy! Do you see what I had to sift through to make this video? I wanted it to be a long video going through all the freaking info. All right? This is crazy. It's one after another.
Normal thought.
She is one of the biggest conservative influencers in the world.
Process to have. We don't have that about any other country in the world except for the one that, you know, took over ours. And that's the truth. Okay.
Right, because Israel, of course, controls America with the Epstein blackmail, obviously.
Okay. We are an occupied nation. And if it's going to take women, like, having to speak up and say that to make permission, like, to give permission to men to do the same, then I'm happy to be the first person, okay? I just want to be clear. Anything happens to me, blame the Zionists. Like,
do you see how insane this is? This unbelievable level of, like, manipulating people into thinking that the Jews are the evil ones controlling the world and killing everyone?
1000% blame the Zionists. Like,
yeah, all right. You know what, Candace?
You know what's crazy? Like, watch her get taken out by someone who's anti-Zionist. Just to make her a martyr, like pretty much what Destiny's trying to get done to himself lately.
Honestly, can these nuts fit in your mouth? That was the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say is, now, Candace, do you know how sick of a troll it would be to the Zionists if you killed yourself? Like, dude, think about it. You kill yourself,
yeah,
and everyone's like, yo! It was literally
so he's thinking pretty much what I
said.
said. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, Candace.
She would never do this to herself.
No, I don't want you to do it. But if you would do it, it would be a crazy troll. The troll would be insane, guys. It would be crazy. Oh my God, that's insane. Now, if you want to see old Candace Owens tweets, before she was brainwashed here, ha ha ha, oh my God. AOC thinks Palestine is a country that's being occupied, ha ha ha. I cannot stop laughing. How? This was her, okay?
It does sound
this
robotic.
Is literally her tweet. She is such a moron.
Yeah.
She is such an idiot. How did she go from this to this saying that a Zionist killed me? That if I die, a Zionist killed me. How? This is crazy.
Are we gonna find out? I really want to know.
I'm not calling for violence. I don't want her to kill herself. But if she does kill herself, it would be an insane way to troll the Zionists. And again,
yeah, where'd you get that
Candace Owens,
from?
Before she became a paid anti-Semitic propagandist by Qatar. Again, I don't know if any of that's true. That's just what people say.
It's just like, okay, quick story. Okay, so a friend of mine, close family friend, she's going through a divorce. She has 3 kids. Her husband cheated on her and had got another girl pregnant with a girl who had 2 kids already. And the whole reason this thing happened was because, yes, he works hard all day, I guess, maybe, but he does work all day, and then he gets home and all he wants to do is play Xbox. He doesn't want to do anything around the house. He doesn't want to help with the kids or anything. He just wants to play Xbox. which is what people think all gamers are like. I'm not like that. So they had just had their third kid, and then he knocks this other person up, and the kid's already alive and all that, blah, 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 blah. So he moves out and goes move in with the person with the 3 kids, the now 3 kids, 2 kids from other guys. So he's still got 3 kids, and someone asking him why he's not helping him with them. And then my friend comes up to me and she's like, I should kill myself so this motherfucker has 6 kids he's got to deal with and he can never play his Xbox again. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, she goes in this whole. She's pretty pro-Jew and pro-Israel.
Yeah, my friends are fucked up like
all
me.
All of a sudden, bam! Jews control the media.
Let me ask you something. So you're a proud Muslim. You're very, very proud of your faith.
Absolutely.
And you're also unapologetically pro-Israel.
Absolutely.
And some people go, whoa, how does that happen? Because we see usually the narrative, especially when you're talking about the Middle East, it seems that all of the blame, they always want to blame Israel, no matter what. The strangest thing, anything could happen. It could not rain for 3 days.
That's
and it's, it's curse Israel, the Israel state, the IDF. They've brought about all of this.
Isn't that exactly what she's doing now? She's talking about how everyone blames Israel and blames the Jews for things that are insane. And this is literally what she's doing right now. Is that not insane?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Yeah, the Jews control the media. Meanwhile, she has one of the biggest platforms in the country. Theo Von had her on his podcast.
Again, I don't think that I don't know what she believes.
Theo Von,
I don't know if she believes this or what she was preaching 2 years ago or what she was preaching 6 years before that.
Jews on his podcast. And it's just going to get bigger and bigger. It's just wild to see how this happens, honestly. It's wild to see how mainstream
Hassan went on
is.
Theo Von.
So, again, this is Ian Carroll. This is a guy who was just on Joe Rogan's podcast. He did his thing where he blames the Jews. He's a conspiracy theorist. He says that Epstein blackmailed Jews. Jews blackmail Epstein. Epstein, Jews blackmail America. Right? It's all the Jews. So he was just doing that. Now, again, this is not an Ian Carroll video. This is a Candace Owens video. So, Ian Carroll, big Epstein Jews guy, this guy, she's like, wow, clicked so fast. Congratulations, Ian Carroll, right? Immediately super happy that Candace Owens, super happy that this happened. I wonder why. Wonder what they have in common. It's pretty crazy. Just to show you the lengths she goes to promote this Jews control the world type of shit. Like, you're not ready for this. You are not ready for this. Look at this clip of Ian Carroll, all right? And remember, this is a clip co-signed by Candace Owens. She supports this clip. All right, you ready for the clip? Ready for the rabbit hole? You're gonna go crazy.
Schofield Bible? Oh boy, here's a rabbit hole for you. Here's a rabbit hole for all of us. In the early 1900s, right around when the Federal Reserve was founded and the Balfour Declaration happened, right at that exact same time, the Rothschild family hired this...
Everything's the Rothschild family, by the way. Pay attention. Every conspiracy theory, the Rothschild family did it.
Dude, this pastor in the Deep South, he made a new version of the Bible called the Schofield Bible. Okay. He wrote this new Bible that has all these new interpretations of the text. So they didn't change...
Jewish influence.
Yes.
The Jewish influence. Yes.
See, and the Hodge twins are going down this hole too. Like,
literally, that's where Judeo-Christianity kind of came from. And the idea that Israel is this modern Israel thing is the Israel of the Bible. It came from that Bible. And the Schofield Bible was funded by the Rothschild family. And then it was pushed because they owned the publisher that publishes like all the books. I think it was Oxford Press. And so they had the deals that they could make to get that Bible into all the mega churches across whole denominations of Christianity. And so that was when Christianity got kind of Jewified.
Right, so the Jews Jewified the Bible by making a fake new Bible to have Jewification processes into it in order to manipulate Americans and manipulate Christians into liking Jews, all right? That's the theory, all right? All funded by the Rothschilds. And of course, Candace says, this is one of the reasons I decided to be a baptized Catholic. Learning the history and the funding of the Schofield Bible is an important step for Protestants to begin to sense something is wrong. So she did her research. She did all the research. It's crazy. Anyway, none of that's true, it turns out. In fact, all of that's lies. So get ready. There are so many of these just slop 30-second videos going out literally promoting conspiracy theories, how the Jews are controlling the world and shit. All right, so turns out the Rothschilds did not fund the Schofield Bible. They also did not hire Schofield.
Really?
They also did not own the Oxford Press. Pay attention, that's 3 lies so far. Schofield has been working on a reference Bible for years independently. Okay, who funded them? Well, the top funder was a Christian real estate developer named Owens Ball Jr. That is 5 lies. 5 provable lies in a 30-second clip to promote an insane anti-Semitic conspiracy how a cabal of Jews work to secretly Jewify the Bible. Okay?
I'm going to have to Google all this because this
is a 30-second clip full of lies Literally, not one thing is true about this clip. Literally. Funded by a Christian. And it's promoting this idea about how the Jews invaded the industry, invaded Christianity to psyop Christians. And of course, Candace Owens is like, this, yes, she did the research and she's fully on board. When all of that was fake. Literally all of that was fake. And she's here to say, yeah, the history is important. I realized something was wrong. All of that history is fake history. Even the community note is.
Oh, I was about to say, yeah.
According to Schofield, the guy who wrote the Bible, the money came from Alwyn Ball, wealthy Christian men from New York. It's all lies. It's crazy. It's literally insane. Oh my God. Also, fun fact, Candace Owens got money from USAID. So, in case you were wondering where she was being funded, I wanted to wrap up on a high note. Other cool news.
Interesting.
This is not cool. That was sarcasm. Currently, there are Christians being mass slaughtered in Syria. I don't know if you're aware of that because it's not really talked about by any of the people because you can't blame the Jews on it. But yeah, currently Christians are being mass slaughtered in Syria, and it is a travesty.
Yeah.
It is a travesty and a tragedy, and I'm covering it in my next video because somehow none of these other guys are talking about it, but this is happening, and I'm going to cover it because it's an unbelievable atrocity that's going on. It's over the last 3 days this has been happening, and no one's talking about this shit. It is evil and awful. Candace Owens doesn't talk about that despite she's a big Christian. Big Christian, Candace Owens. She was
she
too busy
doesn't talk
talking
about
about
anything
Jews
that doesn't prove her
and
point
Andrew
for her.
Tate. So that's important. That's crazy. See this shit that's going on right here? This is Syria, of random people shooting into people's houses. Yeah, can't twist it and blame it on the Jews, so I guess it's not important for Candace Owens to talk about stuff like this that's happening to Christians, her people. Now, I wanted to end on a high note. This is Kanye West talking about why he hates Jews, and I think this clip is fucking awesome. So let's dive in, baby, and we'll use this to wrap this story up.
Okay.
Also, I'm envious of the Jewish people. I'm envious of how they don't abort their children. I'm envious of how they don't shoot each other in the streets and then rap about it. I'm envious of how their families stay together. I'm envious that they turn their phones off on Friday night and the family comes together. I'm envious of how they do the business together. Also,
to wrap things up on a high note, this Kanye clip was never played on Candace Owens' channel. Candace Owens is an unbelievable moron. I really wanted to come to that conclusion mostly because I did a lot of analysis into a lot of these different topics that she's covered and a lot of these unbelievable different conspiracy theories that she's running. And while I do think she thinks that everything in the world is the Jews' fault, and I do think she is an op of every Jew, I do think it comes primarily from a place of idiocy. I think it comes from idiocy more than it literally comes from anything else. I don't think it comes from pure evil. I think it comes from stupidity. I think she is coming from the dinosaurs are fake and gay, the earth might be flat mentality, and she found herself in bed with a lot of people
Look at
that
that
hate
face.
Jews,
She's got the dead
slurps up
eyes.
and believes all the
You see this a
conspiracy
lot
theories, even the
these
Nazis
days
hate her
with
for
men
being
and
so
women.
retarded. All right?
The
So
dead eyes and
ultimately,
the smug
That's kind of
grin.
my conclusion. I think she's in bed with bad people. They are pushing bad theories down her throats. An easy way to blame everything in reality on the Jews. And that is how she is going to go about her life to do it. And you know what? She supports pedophile, sex trafficking, rapist people because at least they hate Jews too. So thanks for joining the Candace Owens is 100% fucked video. I did an obscene amount of research on this one. So definitely share it around. Tell your mom that Candace Owens is a little off the deep end, all right? I do think that a lot of what she says comes from a good place. I don't think she's evil. I think she's a dumbass. I think that her videos are lies on top of lies on top of misinformations. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
And with a lot of this stuff, I always lean towards people being complete dumbass morons than malice, for the most part. There's a few people I see otherwise. Hassan Piker, a lot of the elites. But then again, some of them, it just could be what they've been taught all the way down. You gotta do your best to find commonality with people. But that being said, we're gonna move on. After a pretty humorous we're going to go here. Steven Crowder posted this. Destiny posted, the Charlie Kirk Memorial is indistinguishable from a Nazi rally, and F anyone who wants to pretend it's not. Stephen Crowder said, I was skeptical. However, after reviewing some archival footage, I've reached a conclusion that Destiny is correct. Yesterday was exactly like a Nazi rally. Let's see this.
Forgive my enemies. We shall all forgive our enemies. We shall forgive the Judens and provide mercy. We shall forgive the blacks and the handicapped. And we will most of all forgive the gays and the rump rangers shall be forgiven. And
all right, for those of you just listening, that was that speech superimposed over an actual video of Hitler. What the fuck? Crowder's pretty funny when he wants to be, I guess. But anyway, continuing on to our next topic, Nintendo.
Nintendo has proven time and again that they are not a company that wants to share any piece of the...
And let's be straightforward before we get into this. I love Nintendo. Nintendo was the first console that I ever played. It was bought for my sister when I was younger. I have loved Nintendo. I was really pissed that I missed out on Super Nintendo because my parents bought me a Genesis because everyone else had Nintendo, and Super Nintendo came out right after they bought me the Genesis. Which is also, by the way, I think that and the N64 was the next one I got. And then I've bought all my stuff was stolen in 2004, right when I bought the GameCube. And starting, I think about 10 years ago, I started buying all the Nintendo consoles when the minis came out, the Nintendo and Super Nintendo minis. And I love Nintendo. I love Mario. I love Zelda. I love Samus, even though I'm really shitty at the Metroid games. Star Fox 64 especially was my favorite. I wanted to give Star Fox Zero more of a chance. I love this company. I love a lot of the IPs that they put out. But you have to admit, especially lately, and people who have been on YouTube for a long time know I've seen they're really bad about copyright. And they're only getting worse with things. Let's watch.
With anyone else if they can help it. Long have any illusions been broken that Nintendo is somehow a happy-go-lucky company that is all about fun and joy. They're actually pretty cutthroat, and with what's been uncovered now, deeply concerning too. And the hope that Nintendo wants here is that if they win by using this new patent and more, they want to not only erase Palworld from existence, but all competitors in one fell swoop. Yep, it's time to do a big update on Pokemon, Palworld, Nintendo in general, really all of it and more. But before we continue, let's first say a big thank you to the sponsor of this video, Fume. Ever feel like you're stuck in a habit you don't even really think about? Maybe it's something you reach for during stressful moments while hanging out with your friends or just out of sheer boredom. I know I've been there. That's why I was excited to try Fume, and honestly, it's kind of been amazing. Fume, the sponsor of today's video, isn't another vape or e-cig or nicotine product. It's actually something different, a simple, satisfying way to replace those bad habits without actually inhaling anything that's harmful for you. There's no vapor, and there's not even any nicotine in this thing either. It's just natural, flavored air that gives you something to reach for without, inhaling chemicals.
Sorry, bud.
It's also super easy to fidget-friendly design that keeps your hand Fume over other alternatives. Today. Again, that's code in
my
video,
God,
and
what
now
a
let's
long...
get on with the show. So let's first begin with this article from Screen Rant to set the stage that's titled...
I do use Fume, but I'm not advertising anyone else's ads. If you want Fume, click on Endymion. He's on YouTube. Click on his link and get him some support. But we're not watching all that. I'm sorry.
Nintendo's controversial new patent could change gaming forever. I already know that the title of that article sounds like hyperbole or clickbait to you, but sadly it isn't. In case you don't know, Nintendo is suing Pocket Pair over Palworld, not necessarily because it's a game with creatures in it that you can capture, but for other patent infringements according to Nintendo, like Pocket Pair using the concept of capturing creatures specifically with a ball-like item. And the other more nebulous claim that Nintendo apparently owns the right to switching or riding a creature in a video game from ground to air as transport, which is, yes, as stupid as it sounds, because that second one severely impacts many games outside of just Nintendo-made ones and then some. But now, according to Screen Rant and GameSpray, which have been chronicling this whole lawsuit, Nintendo now has a patent that is an ace in the hole, if you will, that will harm even more games. The patent's identity is patent number 12/403/39. Here's the actual patent on screen for you to see, as GamesFrey was able to obtain. Basically, this new patent allows Nintendo to claim the sole rights to the concept of summoning something to aid you in a video game. Here's the exact...
And this is ridiculous, especially because, as people who play video games know, especially RPG fans, summons have been around forever. Final Fantasy invented something. I think they invented summons. I'm not 100% on that. But this concept has been around for decades. And they're literally just doing this because Power World pissed them off. And the fact that I'm pretty sure, yeah, this patent went through in the U.S. So whoever works for the patent office is a dipshit. This is why if you don't know about certain things, they should be able to, they should have to, you know how on was it Pawn Stars they'll call in a specialist? They should call a specialist other than the people who are putting the patent in, like a indistinguished third party who has nothing to do with the people making the patent. They should come in and let them and give them any kind of insight on what they're about to patent, because these things, especially with tech, they are getting so far out of their depth because people who work for these offices are retards like me, or anyone who's watching this. Imagine your mom. Now imagine her trying to comprehend what this is. That's who's working for the office. And I love your mom. She's great. She's a sweet lady. The pie is fantastic. I'm going to stop talking.
Official description, as Nintendo's patent says, as it reads here. An example of an information processing system moves a player character on a field based on a movement operation input. The information processing system causes a sub-character on the field based on a first operation input. When an enemy character is placed at a location where the sub-character is caused to appear, the information processing system controls a battle by a first mode in which the battle proceeds based on an operation input. When the enemy character is not placed at the location, the information processing system starts automatic control of automatically moving the sub-character. The information processing system moves the sub-character based on a second operation input, and when the enemy character is placed at a location of a designation, the information processing system controls a battle by a second mode in which the battle automatically proceeds.
Okay. So this is such a common practice in RPGs. The South Park RPGs had it in them. Both of them. I didn't play the third one that was in 3D. It was weird. I'm still trying to get back to it. But this is bad. And the fact that it actually went through. If you can just patent innocuous game features. Like this would be like, I'm pretty sure Nintendo invented the pause button, if I'm not mistaken. Imagine if that was patented. I mean, it doesn't really matter for online games anyway, but still, you know what I mean.
That's a lot of words, but pretty much what it means is that Nintendo now officially owns the rights to what a Pokemon turn-based battle looks like, to keep it as simple for all of us to understand. So when you get into a battle in Pokemon, right, you enter it, you throw a Pokeball, a Pokemon comes out, that's the summoning mechanic in action that they're talking about here, and you then issue commands to the Pokemon, who then does an attack against the opponent. Yeah, Nintendo owns that now officially, which is terrible because this implicates so many things, it's actually ridiculous. And Nintendo was so specific with this particular patent that when you read further into it, it actually gets worse. As GamesFrey shows here, the first step of this patent is that there must be a PC, console, or other computing device, and the game is stored on a drive or similar storage medium. So that means every game imaginable pretty much is affected by this, because all games are stored on via a console through data or storage, or a PC, obviously, if you play on Steam. So this means that Nintendo just hit all the boxes across every console or computer pretty much in one hit. But they also, as they said in that same part, that Nintendo's patent is validated if the character or summon can move in that specific sequence. Which, of course, this will cause, in Pokemon's case, your Pokemon physically moves from, the spot to attacking the other Pokemon when it does the command that you issued to it. This then means, for example, that this summoning mechanic that Nintendo now owns implicates any which game that allows you to summon something to help you, that then attacks something else that threatens you in the game. So, for example, let's think about that from other games people's perspectives for a second here. Monster Hunter Wilds allows you to summon your little Palico buddy to help you. That's something that Nintendo owns now technically. I mean, technically, if you play with your own friends, is that also a summon to in Monster Hunter? Again, it's very nebulous. Another great example is Persona. You summon demons to help you fight, or your own persona, for example. That too is also a summon that you bring up to help you fight in the game. It also doesn't help that Persona, because you're, in a turn-based game as well, so you're issuing a command to a summon to protect you. But this could also implicate Borderlands 4, since, for example, Vex the Siren and Amon the Forge Knight can both summon either clones in Vex's case, or Forge drones and Amons to protect them. Technically now, under Nintendo's new law, Vex should not be able to summon anything to protect her or issue commands to it, and neither can Amon in Borderlands 4. But it gets more nebulous and concerning too, because to think about it, which other game allows you to summon NPCs that help many players use in video games? That's right. I'm talking about Dark Souls and Elden Ring. They are also implicated by this too, because by you summoning an NPC to help you fight a boss, or say using your Mimic tier in Elden Ring to fight alongside you, you just violated the law and broke Nintendo's copyright rules again, which is, yes, as stupid as it sounds, and I know that it's annoying, but this is essentially what Nintendo has patented here. I'm sure I could think of more game examples, but you guys all get the point. This just cooks the industry in more ways than one due to Nintendo's greed alone. This also does mean that future Souls-like games, or turn-based ones, could also technically be sued for violating Nintendo's patent. So hypothetically speaking, no future Soulsborne Souls-like games could really give you an NPC that can fight alongside you. Instead, to avoid these complications, I guess the other alternative is that, let's say in Elden Ring's case, you would not summon a Mimic tier, but you would now ring that same bell, and I guess you would just give yourself instead a massive stat boost. But as long as something doesn't actually get summoned, you are technically okay. But this just muddles the water further. I think we can all agree on that one. But then what this does say, for example, let's also look at Shin Megami Tensei. That's a game all about capturing monsters and summoning demons, which, by the way, is a series that existed before Pokemon and directly inspired Nintendo to create Pokemon in the first place due to Shin Megami Tensei's monster capturing mechanic. This is a massive overstep on Nintendo's part. Eventually, someone will somehow patent the concept of shooting a gun in a game, or who knows, maybe Nintendo can even patent owning the right to saving your game progress while they're at it too. And then you have YouTuber Co Carnage, who weighed in on this, and here's what he said via Twitter. This is actually insane. All of game dev is iterative. The idea that Nintendo has somehow been some golden child company and only used mechanics they came up with and didn't iterate off others is insane. What a disgusting and corporate direction to take gaming. Shame on them. Exactly this. Nintendo should not be allowed to own game concepts like this because they did not create it in the first place. And even if they did, they still shouldn't be allowed to own it because it is a game.
Hold on. So apparently, Keith Olbermann is threatening Scott Jennings. I'm going to see if I can find... Hey, look at that. I'm going to see if I can find the original tweet. I really hate when people copy tweets because they're really, really easy to fake. But I'll look more into this. But apparently, as of right now, Keith Olbermann is literally threatening Scott Jennings. Amazing
mechanic that can clearly be perceived and used in many different ways depending on the game. But this is how far Nintendo is willing to go to destroy Palworld, which tells me that they are indeed desperate as desperate can get in order to get Palworld gone at this point if they're doing stuff like this. But then there's also Windows Central's article, which is this titled, "The Patent Office made a huge mistake, how Nintendo's problematic summoning patent passed without scrutiny." So Florian Mueller, who is the guy behind Games Free that broke this story on Nintendo's new patent and how damaging it can be to not only Palworld, but literally everything else, was recently interviewed. During that interview, he said this: "I think it should not have been granted. The patent office made a huge mistake."
No,
and
yeah,
when you
they
look
did.
into it further, it's actually even worse than I explained before.
It really
was
is.
then found in the patent that it further describes itself as this, which reads, "Storage medium information processing system, information processing apparatus, and game processing method could describe virtually anything from AI systems to self-driving car controllers or even word processors." So
Wow.
yes, Nintendo just kind of screwed over everybody pretty much with this. Florian Mueller also brings up in that same interview that games such as Final Fantasy, for example, would also be implicated by this too, since summoning is a key part of Final Fantasy's combat and the entire point of certain job classes.
Which came out before Pokemon. It outdates Pokemon by like 10 years, I think, almost. At least 6.
Classes, like say, I don't know, the Summoner, for obvious reasons. Again, this is only being done because Nintendo is desperate to win over Pocket Pair. Although Florian does make the point that he believes most development studios could fight this patent in court and win due to the nebulous nature around it. But according to Florian as well, that's not really the point, as he says here. Litigation is expensive. Even if you're right, even if you're confident that you would win, you still have to spend millions fighting the lawsuit. And for smaller developers, that's not an option. They'd rather settle or change their game design than face that risk. So this is a bleeding tactic that Nintendo is using, pretty much is what it is. They pretty much want to...
And is it weird that I want like Elon Musk to take on some of these things? Like I want them to buy I want him to buy Pal World, and I want him to buy Twitch. I know it won't happen, but God, I can hope.
Bleed other companies or studios out of their money to ensure that if they do use similar concepts to their games like Pokemon, that they will pay for it financially, even if it's not to Nintendo. It's quite literally just a deterring tactic on their part. It's really scummy, because of course no indie game developer could survive this with Nintendo unless they had millions of dollars thanks to a massively successful game like, say, Pal World. But Pocket Pair is not really indie anymore anyways, but they're now like a bona fide development studio and publisher with multiple games under their belts. So how did something like this even get passed? Well, Florian would say this. The examiner probably didn't fully consider the scope of prior art in video games and didn't fully grasp how common summoning mechanics already were. So, Nintendo got what they wanted because the people who signed off on it don't really fully understand the scope of what Nintendo just did. Great. Love that. You even had IGN's article title, which is more scathing, which reads, Nintendo should never have received controversial summon character and let it fight Pokemon patent, IP lawyers say. So the general consensus here is that nobody is really happy with Nintendo doing this, and it was also revealed in that IGN article that Nintendo has actually been pursuing this particular patent since 2023. So if it isn't obvious to you, Nintendo clearly wants to own every concept that they use in their games because it will only strengthen their ecosystem over others. If you can only play games that allow for monster capturing mechanics or switching between air or ground mounts and now summoning something to help you, that puts them at a massive advantage.
Look, and I don't even want them to have the power to have a crappy mechanic like from Star Fox Zero where you had to use that shitty controller. And if you could use it well, fine. But it's almost impossible to look at both screens on the Wii U at the same time. It's just not.
But it will also dilute and stifle the kinds of games that can be made in the future. And personally, I think if the patent makes video games as an art form more limiting or worse, it should be pushed back against. But Nintendo clearly doesn't care either way because they have an excess in the billions when it comes to pocket change that they can use to bleed out pretty much anyone who then tries to fight back, although things get even more stupid and honestly confusing, as PC Gamer reports here. Nintendo reportedly gets even more obnoxious about patent law by taking a mods aren't real game stance against a Dark Souls 3 mod that could invalidate its Pal World lawsuit. That's a loaded title, so let me explain it to you because it is relevant. So during the Pal World versus Pokemon lawsuit that is still ongoing, obviously, Nintendo recently brought up that modders and by extension their mods do not count as proof against their ability to own their patents, because mods are not real games in Nintendo's opinion. So let's clarify that even further. Basically, there is a loophole to patents and such that is being brought up by places like GamesFrey, where that Florian Mueller guy I referenced earlier works at. And if a company issues a patent, it cannot technically be considered law if the art or concept of what they are trying to patent already existed in a mod. Hopefully that makes sense. Here's what PC Gamer said. As IP attorney Kirk Sigmund told PC Gamer last September, demonstrable prior art, meaning pre-existing work resembling the invention described in a patent's claims, is bad news for patent holders, because it means they shouldn't have been granted the patent in the first place. Sigmund said that courts in Japan have a strong history of siding with patent lawsuit defendants who could present examples of prior art. But again, Nintendo is claiming just because a mod for a game may have similar mechanics to their patent, it does not invalidate their patent. The example that was given was Pocket Souls. It's a mod that was created for the game Dark Souls 3. Here's the mod on screen as it's available on Nexus Mods. Pocket Souls turns Dark Souls 3 into a Pokemon-like game. Mod Mods like this and more are being presented by Pocket Pair in court against Nintendo right now, and the hope is that Pocket Pair is trying to show that Nintendo was given a patent on similar ideas that had already existed in video games. And therefore, if this is then proven true, which I mean it would, because Pocket Souls literally exist, it's right there, then it could make Nintendo's patent pointless and invalid, which would piss Nintendo off greatly, as the patents say, as you can see on screen here. I won't read it all for you, but I'll summarize it. Basically, if the concept of the patent had already existed prior to Nintendo trying to make that patent theirs, it invalidates is what this says. Which means by law, when Nintendo has been trying to push in order to ruin and destroy Palworld, it cannot legally be allowed to exist if it were to be used in a court of law against Palworld or really anyone else.
That's crazy.
That being said, Nintendo still got this patent to pass anyway, which still makes this patent now a real headache for places like Pocket Pair and especially Palworld. But hopefully these Japanese courts see a reason that Nintendo is so obviously operating within bad faith here that they lose it. Because the best case scenario here is that Nintendo just loses this lawsuit completely. That is the preferred outcome, not just for Palworld, mind you, but really everybody. Because if Nintendo were to win this lawsuit, Palworld would just no longer exist, and that's real. I reported that like a month or two ago already. But in Nintendo's official demands, if they win the lawsuit, Palworld has to be scrubbed from the internet, games, all of it. It just can't exist then. They do want to erase Palworld completely, which would, yes, make Nintendo even more bullish and hellstrung to continue their onslaught of stupid on everyone who isn't them. And before someone says that's clickbait, nope, not at all. As seen here from NME.com, Nintendo back in 2024 already tried this, as they wanted Palworld to be shut down during all of these legal proceedings. To further clarify, as seen here in that same article, as it reads, they are currently seeking an injunction that will halt all sales of Palworld until the legal proceedings are over. So Nintendo genuinely already tried to stop Palworld from being sold during this battle, which is still ongoing. They actively tried to stop Pocket Pair from selling their cash cow so that they could strangle them for both more money and time to then, force them into compliance.
Wow.
So I don't want to hear Nintendo didn't try anything scummy when everything they've done so far is the definition of scummy. I also wanted to bring to light how Nintendo's other scummy practice of key cards, which is how Nintendo is selling people physical key cards that do not have the games on them, which is a whole other can of worms that is anti-consumer that is also being defended by people, as automaton.com reports here. Nintendo's game key cards and pricing are not about greed. Ex-Capcom developer argues they are acting to protect the industry. The ex-Capcom dev in question here is Masakazu Sugimori, who said this via Twitter, adding one point to the current flow of conversation regarding the claim often heard overseas that seems to have some legitimacy. It's unfair that something you bought becomes unplayable when the service ends. As a player myself, I can understand this perspective, and I sometimes feel the same way, but well, do physical items outside of digital products last forever? Most of the time they don't, right? Physical things always have a lifespan and will eventually break. Digital products, on the other hand, generally don't have a lifespan, and then he continues, I feel that these moves are largely aimed at protecting the gaming industry and the digital entertainment industry. It might be a bit too optimistic of a view, but the fact is that because Nintendo takes the lead, other companies can more easily follow suit to protect themselves. I understand where Sugimori is coming from, but let's be real, Nintendo's keycards and really everything that they've been doing surrounding the Switch 2 has only shown that they are nothing but anti-consumer in the end. You don't own the games that you buy, you don't own the rights to playing them, you don't even own the console that you physically bought, since Nintendo can just brick the console whenever they want to and turn it into a paperweight. And
and that part is terrifying. Like, even because some of this stuff you can stumble across just purely by accident, depending on what you're into, and especially if you're getting into. I don't know. I've never done it with a Nintendo console, but I do know if you're into any kind of mods, you can cross this threshold quite easily. I know it's harder to do it on Nintendos, but you bought the Nintendo. Should they be able to cut you off from online? 100%, absolutely. But to brick your console because you did something that was against their little rules, it's ridiculous.
Charging per game over anyone else in the industry.
That's why I'm not getting a Switch 2.
And we're all supposed to just be okay with this simply because Nintendo makes Pokemon or Mario games? No, Nintendo is price gouging their consumers and they know it. They even recently announced Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are coming to Switch 2. They are older Wii games. Surely Nintendo would price them accordingly, right? Except here's the price for both of them on their shop in Canada where I live, and it's $100 before taxes for ports of two older games. That is unreasonable. In some parts of Canada where the tax rate is well over 10%, you're you're paying through the nose for these ports on your Switch 2. And then adding insult to injury that many Switch 2 games are key cards, meaning that there's no game on the physical card that you just bought, is just further proof that Nintendo is not protecting the industry, nor are they protecting consumer rights. They are only protecting their right to owning everything that you buy from them that they can at any point in time remove from your possession in a moment's notice. And when you factor in what I presented today about Power World and Pocket Pair and how they now own the rights to summoning help and more, this just tells me that if you believe Nintendo is in their, right to cater to consumer rights or privileges, you're honestly being gullible. And you'd likely also buy a can of air from Nintendo for $30 if they told you that the air was from like the Mushroom Kingdom too. Look, Nintendo can still fix all these problems and more, but frankly, at this point, I just don't think they're interested. And that to me shows that Nintendo truly is trying to erase their competition and overstep their boundaries to ensure that they can only make what they make and no one else. But what do you think? Is Nintendo justified in this? Are
No,
their patents
absolutely
okay,
not.
or do you have problems with them? What about how they tried to erase Power World already? And what about key cards and that Mario Galaxy pricing? Is that too much, or is $50 Canadian per game a worthy price in your eyes? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And just another
I think it's $40 American, if I'm not mistaken. I'm glad that they broke them up separately. I would honestly, me personally, I think that it should be especially since they already put Galaxy 1 out with the Super Mario 3D All-Stars little sham that they put out like a year or two ago. But me personally, I would have think $20 or $30 American would have been a better price for that. But I don't know. I could see myself paying $40 for Super Mario Galaxy 2, but at the same time, I won't be, because I'm not buying anything from Nintendo until, and I already canceled my my Nintendo Switch Online until further notice, because I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this with them. I'll play the games that I have if I ever feel like it. Like I love Pikmin, I can't help it, but I will not put any more money towards Nintendo. Instead, I'm going to invest in myself and building my next PC, because this one is coming to the end of its life, unfortunately. But anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. As always, I very much appreciate y'all being here. There's Endymion's code if you want to help him out with the Fume. I use Fume. It's really hard to stop smoking and stop vaping. But at the same time, Fume, it's a nice alternative. It has no negative health repercussions as far as I'm aware, because you're not actually inhaling anything. You're basically putting potpourri into a thing and inhaling it, which has no negative repercussions as far as I know. But that being said, that's the end of this one Candace Owens video. Depending on the news today, we might jump into part 3. What is that? Candace Owens is 100% fucked. But we'll see. If we can get this up to at least 100 views, tell you what. If we can beat yesterday's view count on all the platforms, somehow I only had 1 on Kick. Normally I'd get at least a dozen on Kick. But I had 130 views for the video yesterday on YouTube, which is good for me. But yeah, if we can get that above that, or get any subscribers on Kick or Twitch, then I will kick off that. As far as my Twitch channel, I will be playing, and I might put it on all 3 platforms. But there's a new a game called, what was it? Oh, I already closed it out. Relooted or something. It's a horrible looking game, but I think it'll be a lot of fun making fun of it. So I will probably be playing that tonight. I didn't get to play last night because I was still not feeling well. But these morning shows, they're too important to me to miss, and that's one of the reasons why I've been zoning out so much, and I apologize for that. Normally I have a lot more to say, but yeah, we'll continue that tomorrow. And I'll probably jump on that game tonight. If not tonight, then definitely Wednesday night. We'll see how I feel tonight. But I very much appreciate all of you for stopping by. Our viewer count continues to grow. our follows on the other 2 platforms other than YouTube continues to grow. We're stagnant on followers on YouTube, but the subscriber count on Kick continues to grow, and the followers on Kick and Twitch continue to grow. So I very much appreciate you all for even giving me a view. It means the world to me. But do me a favor, if you would, hit that like button before we sign off here. And I very much, speaking of which, I'll do that for Mr. Endymion. He's nice enough to give me content to watch, so I'm nice enough to give him a like. I try to for every video that I at least like. But it's a crazy world. I'm going to try to put as much humor in these as I can. Some subjects will keep me from doing that a little bit, but I'm going to try where I can. Please don't be offended if I say something a little too far-fetched. I'm literally just trying to lighten the mood a little bit. I know some subjects, it's hard to lighten them, but I'll do my